your email address, so anybody who wants to try these fabulous cigars, they'll be able to find out where they can get them. Mike, you got any questions for George?
Yeah.
Did you have something to say, George? Go ahead.
Well, I just love all the feedback as well. There's been some great feedback, obviously, and we've got someone like William Ventura who's been working on these blends, which have been outstanding. But like I said, we're in this mode where I want to make sure that the product is right. Mike Ford, you did a review on Stogie review, and there's one thing that really bugged me about that, which was when you tipped off an ash, there was a small void in there. And while it wasn't anything that had altered the taste of the cigar or the performance of the cigar, it just kept me up for several nights, right? And I don't like to see stuff like that. I am rather a perfectionist, and so I went back and worked at the factory, and I just got a shipment back in. We tried some different molds. Told them to take some more time when it comes to bunching the cigars, and these babies are packed so nicely. I mean, I've never seen a cigar actually packed this tightly, and the draw is still very consistent, very easy draw, and not too easy. So, but that sort of stuff comes from the feedback from smokers, right?
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to do, is get the feedback in, make the cigar better, work on different blends, pay attention to what's going on, in the shops. I spend a lot of time in the shops whenever I can, and build relationships directly with smokers. And I really do encourage people to just contact me directly. That's what I like to do in this business. For me, it's not about making a lot of money or anything. I mean, I'm still in the corporate world, so I thank God, and knock on wood, my bills are paid, so I can take care of my wife and my 5 kids. So we're good. This is all about passion and about building something to be proud of. So,
oh, that's great.
And sharing it.
Yeah, and like people in the chat room are even saying it's great that you put that much detail or attention to detail into the cigars, and you actually listen to the people that are smoking your cigars, and when there's a problem, you try to fix it. I think that's just wonderful.
Yep, that's what we're doing. And I've got an amazing team.
Question I had for you, actually, somebody asked in the chat room a little earlier. I wanted to find out about the sizes. What's your favorite size and strength of your cigars that you have out, and do you have anything coming out in the near future different?
Sure. Yeah, I've got a couple that have been consistently my favorite, and my first cigar that we blended was actually a Corona size, standard Corona. It was 6 by 46, and it was made with a Corojo wrapper. And what I learned from William is that, when we start a blend, or we're trying out a new wrapper or something, those sizes are the ones that have stood the test of time. It's that perfect ratio between wrapper and filler. And the flavor that came out of that cigar for me was just outstanding. So that's kind of my personal favorite. I started with that cigar. I'll be bringing it back on the market. But what's interesting is that I've got to find the right shops to do that with, because there's such a huge demand for large ring gauges out there that I'm looking at doing the larger ring gauges now. And so I've got a couple of blends out there in a couple of the leaf and bean shops where we've been testing these, and the response has been phenomenal. I mean, we cannot keep these things on the shelf. And, the reason for that is that, from day one, working with William, I told him, I said, what I want to do here is to stick with, grade A tobacco all the way through, okay? And then we have, Kevin Michaels, who has been in the business for a long time. He's actually a professional golfer, been on the pro golf circuit for years and years. He's possibly going on the senior tour this year. But what Kevin has done over the years is that when he's not playing golf in the summer in the States, he's in the Dominican or in Nicaragua or in Ecuador, actually making cigars and playing golf in the winter. And so Kevin has helped me a tremendous amount in terms of, he's kind of my connection between the U.S. market and what we actually make, in the factory. Okay. So while I might say, hey, let's go make a 6x64 or something like that, Kevin will back up and say, well, George, we might not be able to do that with this rich tobacco that you have here, right?
Right.
So, let's back up on this. Let's try a different size because the burn rates, etc. And when you're working with this grade A tobacco, it's kind of tricky because you got to get the right burn rate. Deep filler will burn better in a large ring gauge. But what we did was we tried a different blend, kept it all grade A, and now we've got a 6x60, which is performing just exceptionally well. Lots of great flavor, very complex, very well-balanced cigar. And that's what we try to do is create that balance. That's what I try to go for first. And then we have, it's a slightly stronger blend in terms of strength, but the complexity coming out of the cigar is fantastic. We've got some great scent notes coming out of it with the barnyard and the grass and that sort of thing, with the leather, and then the actual tasting notes. We're getting cocoa, we're getting coffee out of it, we're getting some caramel towards the end, towards the finish, which has been fantastic. So I'm really impressed with the cigar, and I'm really impressed that we're able to create such a great performing cigar with all grade A rich tobacco at that ring gauge. So we're going to keep pushing that. Code name for that cigar is called the G6. And we've got the G5, which I think is one of Mike's favorites. You can try that 5.5 by 56, and it's just been a great tasting cigar so far. So that's where we're going towards, and we're still going to do the classic size. We're going to keep that as our classic line with the Robusto, which has been one of my favorites with the Habano wrappers. And we've got your standard Toro 6x50, and we've got a great Bellicoso, which is, we've got some great rollers who know how to do that very, very well. Smoke gets concentrated towards the tip, and you're going to find very subtle tasting notes that are slightly different in that Bellicoso. It comes out a little bit sweeter, actually, than the other two senses do, with a very distinct black cherry note, which I think a lot of smokers are surprised by, and they tend to enjoy a lot.
Yeah, I was surprised by the flavor in the cigars when I smoked them. That's the number one thing I think I've heard about them, too, is the flavors that come out of the cigar. People are just really surprised by it.
Sure, exactly. And the other case of the surprise part is the price point. We're not the cheapest cigar on the market, but we're kind of at that price point where, under between $6 to $8, we've got a cigar that smokes like a $12 to $15 stick. And that's the feedback that I've been given. I'm not just, saying that, but that's actually what we try to do. So, and we're getting there.
Yeah, I could say, I know I smoked the bigger ring gauges that you gave me, and I think a lot of people think that the bigger ring gauge, you're not getting that flavor, the complexity, and I can say in the samples that you sent me, there's definitely was a nice complexity there, and the cigar was really smooth.
Yes, that's the feedback that we're getting there on that cigar. So we're going to keep making those. We've got a few different sizes in those larger ring gauges. And, and like I said, we appreciate the feedback so we can keep making better cigars.
Absolutely, absolutely. George, what anybody else's cigars you enjoying this today besides your own? Who else are you smoking?
Who else am I smoking? You know what? I actually really enjoy this the new Cane Daytona series. I find it to be a very well-balanced cigar, which I wasn't a fan of the older Canes or standard lines before. I kind of found them to be a little bit one-dimensional. And so I'm quite pleasantly surprised because, from what I've experienced before in those cigars, and now we have something that still, kind of has that, all ligero design to it, but has some complexity. So I've been smoking those for the past week in between, all of my Rodrigos. So I'm quite pleased with that. And I stick to, I guess I'm rather spoiled because I hang out in the shops. I've got a lot of great friends that own cigar shops, and so I stick to kind of the stuff that I like, right? So I smoked a couple of Añejo Sharks this week, some of the Padron 26s and 54s. So it's, my taste goes across the board, and once in a while I'll just pick up, like a Roma de Cuba for, $5.95. It's a great stick. So.
Cool. All right, let's take a question here from the chat. John Gem asked, "What are the main challenges you faced in starting up a cigar company?"
Main challenges. Well, I really didn't think about that too much when I first started. Like I said, it was just something that I just wanted to do. And it just kind of took one step after another, and I'm the type of person that just likes to let things evolve naturally. But I look at kind of where I've been challenged here is really, I think, really understanding kind of what to put out in the market first. I mean, a lot of us might say, okay, this is what I like to smoke. I want to put this out, and I did do that in the beginning, and I had a lot of cigars on the shelf because I wasn't getting any feedback from the market. So what I try to do now is kind of take my preferences, also take the feedback from the market, and get the right sizes in there. I think that's really kind of key on understanding the mind of the consumer and of the smoker. So while I might really love smaller ring gauge cigars, and I just made a new Lancero, by the way, it's fantastic. A lot of folks, when they walk into the cigar shop, they say, I'm going to spend $8 on a cigar. I'm holding this cigar in my hand, and it's a 56 or a 60 ring gauge, and it's the same price as this, this Corona, right, or this Hemingway or something. And that right there kind of tells you a lot about the mindset of the smokers out there. So you got to pay attention to that. I think the other challenge is just finding the right people to work with in the cigar-producing countries. Right? So I got extremely lucky in finding William and working with him, and I've been very, very blessed with him and having Kevin Michaels there as well. I've heard some real horror stories about guys that have gone down there with money burning a hole in their pocket, and factories telling them that, I'm going to make you a cigar that's going to smoke like, it's going to have a 94 rating, have you smoke, and, you'll leave the island feeling great, and you'll get your first shipment and say, this is not what I smoked. So, I think that will be a huge challenge with someone coming into the business. And like anything else, I think you have to take it slow. You have to